Hi guys! Last year I started a series that was called When It Just Ain't Fun Anymore, and that series was based on the concept that in this period of the winter there is a lot of tourists about, and they just rent snowmobiles and just go into the wilderness way farther than they would ever walk, really, without thinking about the consequences if the damn machine stops, or well, whatever. All kinds of things can happen. We talked already a bit about the psychological bit of it with stop and so on. I did some fire stuff, but now let's assume that it is the weather that is really a problem. It's really a storm, a blizzard, and you can't see the next cross and you don't know where you are, or in some way you're forced to stay the night, or a combination of the two, really. Ideally you should have some stuff with you. I will show you that in a later film. There are some really nice products out there that are kind of emergency shelters, emergency wind shelters, basically just a bag. But hey, if you don't have that, what to do? So the first thing that you have to consider, of course, is the location of the shelter. I understand that when you're out there, it's really not a time for careful consideration and testing places, but one thing you should consider is the wind. You do not want the wind blowing straight into the entrance, or that there is too much risk of snow blowing into your shelter. The thing that we're going to make is a snow grave, and that basically is what it says. It's a grave. So there is a minimal kind of reflection from the walls that will maintain some sort of your own body heat will be reflected by the walls, and you can keep it in by creating a roof with whatever you can find. The roof is kind of important in the sense that you don't want too much snow blowing into there. So basically the positioning is completely dependent on the wind. If you have like a scooter, a snowmobile, you can use that one, of course, as an extra shield for the wind. I'm well on my way. I am taking slightly bigger dimensions than I normally would take, just to make things a bit more clear. Of course you want as deep as possible, but you don't want it as wide as I just made it here. But I want to make one point absolutely clear a bit later on. What I've done, I'm digging, I'm not done yet, but I'm also immediately sculpting a bed here. This is going to be the bed. So that's what I'm doing right now, and not really finished, so we'll go on a bit. You have to try and compact that a bit. The snow that I have here is not really compact, so it needs some compacting. Also, when you're working like this, take care that you don't sweat too much. I sweat really easy, so I have to take off clothes and take it easy, because going and lying in this in the middle of the night with -20 while all your clothes are wet from the sweat, that's no pleasurable experience. So typically when you build this, you should make it slightly less wide. I did that to try and make it more visible, but it can be better to make it slightly less wide. Also because it's then easier to make a roof. Just collect pins and stuff and lay them all the way down here. If you have a tarp or something, you put that on so that no snow is melting and stuff. And you would continue the roof for the whole length of your torso, basically. It is mostly that the wind and the snow that might blow into the snow grave in the shelter. It doesn't come into your face, and it doesn't make your torso wet or something like that. So that would be until here, and then you can still creep in there. So yeah, obviously when you're going to lie in that for sleeping, especially at night and it's bad weather, make sure you're dry, make sure you're warm. So yeah, you will not have a very comfortable night, although the snow is really nice to lay in. You also must have clothes that are waterproof, otherwise you need something under it. You can take the branches of the pine trees to put under. It's also nice because it creates an extra insulating air layer, which is really good. And if you're really cold, put yourself up into a fertile ball and it becomes less unbearable, really. But yeah, this is not for comfort, this is for surviving. I will get the camera in to give you an idea. This is my cold well, and you see it sloping off into that trench. And that really helps. If you can't do that, make at least your bed elevated so that you have a cold well. But the trench kind of transports away the cold, and because cold air is heavier, so it falls down, you know. So use that if you can. Position your snow grave on a slight slope so that you can make this trench so the cold air can fall away from you. Ideally, like I said, make it less wide, but also make it deeper. This is what I could do. I have about 1.5 meters of snow, so if possible, find somewhere where you have at least 2 meters. It's not that there has to be 2 meters of snow, but it can be that there was a lot of wind blowing up a lot of snow, you see, especially where it is slopey, so use that. Well, there you have it. The snow grave. That's a really easy shelter when you have enough snow. It can really save your life. You have to get out of the wind, and this is the way to do it. And you will actually survive the night. It won't be a pretty and comfortable night, but you will live to tell the tale. Which is highly unlikely if you try to sleep on top of it in the wind. So don't ever do that. Well, see you on the next film, guys.